Appreciate everybody coming out for our budget work session this afternoon. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to interim county manager.
I'm used to wearing many titles. Good afternoon. Before I turn it over to our finance director, I want to take a few minutes to frame today's discussion. As the board will recall from our March retreat, we are working through a structural imbalance in the budget where recurring revenues are not keeping pace with recurring expenditures. Since that time, staff, myself, Mr. Horton, Jonna Sharp, Amy Cannon, Melissa Miller, Kenneth Everett, and department heads has completed a significant amount of work to ensure that what we are bringing forward today is built on accurate data and a clear understanding of our financial position. That includes reconciling position data, rebuilding the salary baseline from the ground up, and developing non-salary targets based on actual spending trends. Today's presentation is not the recommended budget. Instead, it is intended to provide an update on the work completed, walk through where we are financially, and begin framing the decisions that will be in front of the board over the next several weeks. As you'll see, the structural challenges we discussed in March still exist, and addressing them will require a combination of decisions, not a single solution. Before I turn it over to our finance director, I do want to take a moment to recognize the amount of work that has gone into getting us to this point. Over the past several weeks, staff has spent a significant amount of time ensuring that the information we are presenting today is accurate, detailed, and reliable. That has included a full reconciliation of our financial data and a complete review of our position structure. In particular, I want to recognize Jonna Sharp for her work in helping us pull together and reconcile our financials and position data, and Amy Cannon for her assistance in helping shape and refine the presentation. Their support, along with the work of our staff, has been instrumental in getting us to this point. We appreciate that partnership and the effort that has gone into making sure we are working from a strong and accurate foundation. With that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Horton.
Thank you, Interim County Manager. Chairman, board members, thank you for taking the time for this budget work session. This evening is an update on the work that has taken place since the March budget retreat and a preview of what will be in the county manager's recommended budget in May. The goal tonight is to share progress and give the board a chance to ask questions as the recommended budget comes together. The purpose of today's session, there are three things we want to accomplish tonight. First, recap the structural picture of what the board saw in the March retreat. So we are all working from the same starting point. Second, share the work completed since the retreat, which is a full salary, what the interim county manager is referencing, a full salary rebuild, and our initial non-salary targets grounded in actual spending. And third, a preview of the path from here to the county managers, where we are at now, to the county manager's recommended budget on May 18th. Our discussion topics today, there are 6 topics tonight we will discuss. We will start with a brief recap of where we left off at the March retreat, then walk through the full FY26 adopted budget as a anchor. From there, we will cover the FY27 salary baseline, non-salary operating targets, and debt service. And from there, we will wrap up with next steps and revisit the budget calendar leading up to the June 15th adoption. Each one of these topics build on the other topic before it, so we will move through them in order. Brief recap on where we left off at the March budget retreat to make sure that the conversation has the right context. the structural picture. So in March, we framed 4 things that are shaping the FY '27, and all 4 still hold today. First, recurring revenue. The recurring revenues are not covering recurring expenses. Caswell has relied on fund balance appropriations to bridge this gap, reducing unassigned fund balance. Second, fund balance capacity is constrained. The LGC is taking a harder line on what it qualifies as appropriation, and Caswell County's capacity is more than limited than before. Third, that means expenditure reductions is the primary path forward. A structurally balanced FY '27 budget will come mostly through careful expenditure work, particularly salaries and non-salary operating lines. And fourth, staff committed to specific work between the retreat and tonight's reconciliation. I apologize, I got to describe. Retreat and tonight's reconciliation of positions in Munis, verify the salary budgets from authorized positions, and develop non-salary targets based on 3 years of actual spending. And tonight we're reporting on all that work. So on this slide, the FY '27 structural budget gap, this is a slide that you, if you recall, contains data that we also saw at the retreat. On this slide, you have the FY '26 adopted budget, which was 36.8 million. Which is the current spending baseline. Estimated FY '27 recurring revenues. This was based on current forecasts. It is 33.5 million. Revenue estimates are still being finalized, so this number may move a bit, or has the potential to move a bit. The difference, approximately $3.3 million, is the structural gap. This is what has to be closed to align recurring expenditures with recurring revenue. The challenge is that fund balance is typically a one-time resource, not a recurring one. In previous years, Caswell County has appropriated fund balance to try to bridge this gap. But continuing to do so will weaken the county's financial position. And again, the LGC guidance is tightening on how much is available. So FY '27 requires deliberate work on the expenditure side, and that is what that's what the conversation will be for the rest of the night. This is just another slide again that we touched based on the retreat. This is just to familiarize or remind you of the unassigned balance that we're anticipating. It's well below what is suggested by the LGC. I think by half, if I remember correctly. Ideally, in aggregate, I think or ideally, I believe 14 to 15% is ideal for unassigned. So this is a part of what we're trying to remedy. The full 26 adopted budget. So before we start walking through some changes, just kind of want to touch base on this again, because this ties back to a lot of the totals that we'll be referencing during the presentation. So the adopted. So here's a picture. This is the total general fund picture the board adopted for FY '26. That total is 36.4 million. This combines funds 100 through 150, Fund 210, Fund 20, and Fund 720 with intra-fund transfers not included. Of that, That 19.9 million, or roughly 55%, is salary and benefits. The remaining amount is 16.45 million, or 45%, and that piece is completely non-salary. So why this split matters is because the county cannot easily reduce things like education or debt services, contractual equipments, and most of the remaining discretion for closing the gap lives really inside salary, benefits, and non-salary operating lines. So this is where a lot of our work has been focused on since March. And all of the numbers that you see should tie back to the 36.4 million starting point. So I want to briefly discuss how we approach building the salary baselines for the positions. How we rebuilt the salary baselines is, basically 4 steps in the salary rebuild. First, we reconciled authorized position salaries. Every authorized position in the FY26 budget was verified and its salary calculated from current data. Second, we applied current pay rates for filled positions. That is the current employee rate. For vacant positions, that is the budgeted rate for the positions. Third, benefits were calculated consistently across all positions. Fourth, each departmental leader is collaborating with central finance, the administration, to review vacancies and determine an appropriate path forward for FY27, and that work is currently going on now. The salary update, what we have learned so far. These 3 numbers are extremely high level. FY26 adopted salary budget was 14.16 million. The FY27 projected salary is 13. Well, let me take a step back. The FY27 projected salary budget based on the rebuild is 13.79 million. This is a rough estimate in savings as a result of that salary update and review. So if you recall, coming out of the retreat, it was suggested to the board that the salary budget may be overstated because we saw a meaningful gap between budget and actual salaries. What this rebuild confirmed is the budget was slightly overstated, and it was slightly overstated by the $300,000 worth. But the larger story is something else. The bigger story is the number of vacancies. Vacancies drive most of the budget to actual variance in salaries, not over budgeting. The next slide will show that picture. Savings estimates may increase modestly as remaining departments meetings are completed. So where the vacancies sit, and this is at the fund level. So the county has 40 vacancies right now, approximately 15% of authorized positions. That is a significant share and is the primary reason for the salary budget to actual variance. In Fund 100, the general fund, there are 21 vacancies representing approximately $1.5 million. Because Fund 100 is county funded, that full amount is the county's the county's actual cost. Fund 130, social services, there are 16 vacancies. The total salary cost is approximately $1 million, but only about $250,000 is actually funded by the county. The rest is state and federal reimbursements. So that's an important nuance to consider. For Fund 140, Public Health, there are 3 vacancies. The total cost is approximately 287,985, and about 57,000 of that is county funded. Add it all up, total salary cost tied to vacancies is approximately 2.79 million, but only 1.81 million is county money or funded by the county. That distinction matters because reducing those vacancies in like DSS or public health would in essence reduce the state and federal reimbursements that we could receive in matching revenue. Here, it's a little harder to see, and I apologize for that. I couldn't really fit all that information into the slide and make it big at the same time. But what we have here is specifically the general fund, vacancies by general fund only, broken out by the department. If you look at it, and I don't think this is something that has been seen by the board before, but it's information that I think will be helpful when as policies are being made and authorizing these positions. 21 general fund vacancies as of April 15th with a total salary cost of approximately a little over $1 million plus the 428,000 in benefits for a total of 1.5 in vacancies, salaries, and benefits. The largest concentrations are in the public sector. Law enforcement has 8 vacancies at approximately 379,000. Sheriff's detention has 2 at 88, and EMS has 4 at 184,000. Other notable vacancies: administration has 2 vacancies at 205,000. Finance has 2 at 95,000. Maintenance has 1 at 32,000. IT also has 1 at 36,000, and the senior center has 1 at 52,000. The sheriff and EMS both have consistent turnover, so the vacancy allowance may be a consideration going forward. So in this slide, what the salary rebuild tells us. The county has 257 net general fund FTEs authorized. 40 of those are currently vacant, and the county funded portion of that unspent salary is approximately $1.8 million. The story the numbers tell are that vacancies are the single largest driver of the salary variance between what is budgeted and what is spent. Roughly $1.81 million of county funded salary is allocated to positions that are currently unfilled. Again, remember DSS and public health vacancies are heavily state and federally funded. A vacancy in those departments mean both lower expenditures and lower offsetting revenue. The net county impact is much smaller than the gross salary cost for those areas. The net county impact of these vacancies and the choices around them will be addressed in the recommended budget. So non-salary targets, they're just like they sound. We're going to start reviewing the budget and targets that are not related to salary. So how we developed the FY '27 targets, it was basically a 5-step process in the non-salary target methodology. I think it's important to walk through these because if the board does not have, or I'm sorry, if the board does not agree with how we develop the targets, the numbers that come from them may or may not carry weight. So step one, we reviewed actual spending. We pulled fiscal year 24 and 25 actual spending for every single line item within the department. Step two, we projected the FY '26 year-end actuals using spending trends through the end of February. We estimated where FY '26 will land by year end. Step three, calculate the baseline. We weighted across 2 to 3 years of consistent activity to set an operating baseline for each line item. Step four, we adjusted for known factors. For example, contract increases, one-time expenditures, and reoccurring capital needs also got layered in or out as appropriate. Step five, we set departmental targets. Each department received a total target. Each department had the ability to reallocate those dollars between line items within the total. And any concerns about service delivery and concerns about any service delivery was flagged in the notes. So even after setting the target, we will still be going line by line with departments in individual budget meetings. These targets are in essence just the starting point, not the final number. So non-salary preliminary picture. So what this table shows you, what this table shows is the non-salary prelim picture across the 4 operating fund groups. Fund 100, the general fund is the largest line. FY '26 budget was 14.6, and the FY '27 target comes in at approximately 14 million. That's a reduction of approximately 660,000. Most of that reductions comes from department level targets grounded in the 3-year spending history. Fund 130, social services, shows a reduction of approximately 92,000. Fund 140, public health, shows an increase of approximately 207,000, which is largely driven by grant fund programs. Program changes, not county funded increases. FY '50, the libraries is essentially flat. An important caveat to Fund 130 and 140, neither change translates dollar to dollar in the county impact because both are heavily state and federally funded. Total gross reduction across the 4 funds is approximately 500 and I'm sorry, 300 and it's approximately 544,000. I see that. I apologize. I think there's a summary error towards the right. The recommended budget will present net county costs for DSS, public health, and library with the revenue side shown alongside.
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
real quick, why was 25 so much lower on that previous slide? One we were just on, the one that non-salary primary preliminary picture. Why was the actual 25 so much lower than the 24? And I guess,
Um, I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you. I don't recall off the top of my head the details surrounding the FY24 actuals. I, does anything ring with you, Melissa, from that time? I can dig into it and reply to the board.
that'd be fine. Thank you.
The one question, Keith, on Fund 100, uh, that last column, 27 target versus 26 budget, the number you stated, I don't believe matched up with what we're seeing. What we're seeing is 422, 753. Is that, I thought you stated a number that was
So on that,
the
on that
general
one.
fund,
I'm sorry.
the general fund.
Yeah, the general fund. So the four in aggregate, just from the general fund perspective, the FY27 target compared to the FY26 adopted budget
Mhm.
is what makes up that 422.
Okay,
But
I thought you stated a number that was like six something. I may have misunderstood. Carry on, carry on. I might have not understood what you said.
Okay. Okay. So on this slide, Fund 100 operating targets by department. Um, This is every Fund 100 department. Um, I won't read into, I won't read every single line, but want to just kind of cover through some of the larger ones. For example, central services. Um, Central services, the FY25 budget was 1.25 million. The FY27 target is 1.04 million. So there's already a slight reduction there of 206. The sheriff's office FY26 budget was 458,000. The FY27 target was 576. So there was an actual increase in operational cost after factoring the target of 118,000. That increase reflects some of the cost pressures associated with vehicles amongst other things. The detention center was 823,000. The target was the target is 813,000, which is an approximate 10,000 reduction. We will walk through that one a little bit more detail via a case study that I have for you. Another consideration is maintenance and repair buildings. They're up approximately $63,000, largely reflecting already known cost pressures. EMS is also up $40,000. The rest of the administrative departments are largely flat and modest. Continuing with the remaining departments, economic development's generally flat. Animal control was up 14,000. Senior services down 13,000. This is just to reemphasize, these are all preliminary targets. Department meetings are still, we're through departmental meetings with administration and finance. We're still finalizing these numbers. So what you have here is this is an example. This is an example of a file that we use specifically for the detention center. And I was just wanting to just kind of briefly walk you through the detention center because it's a department that actually we were able to vet out the administration, central finance, and the department all together. Looking at the file, uh, and this file is a snip of the actual file that we use to walk through the actual work. In the spreadsheet, every single department received it. It shows their line items, shows what their line items are by fiscal year 24, 25, actuals, their FY 25 budget and the projections, and then the target for FY 27. Again, this is where they could reallocate and shift monies amongst that target, trying not to exceed as long as services provided were not diminished. And FY 26 detention center budget, if you look, was 823,157. The target we gave them based on the methodology was 844,289. The department's actual request after going through the line items together came in at 812,832, which was a $31,000 below the target savings and a 10,000 budget to budget FY 26 to FY 27 target savings. This is another view of it, just high level. Again, our budget, the FY 26 budget, 823. The original target was 844K. The department came in and said that they think they can maintain levels of services for just over or just under 813K. And some of the approaches or key adjustments that we discussed, for example, are the contractual and demand-driven lines. Which ones had to be held, which ones we could recognize as an opportunity to reduce costs. We looked at items that were obviously price sensitive, like food services, and adjusted those things accordingly. We reviewed their maintenance needs. In relation to the actuals that they had within their maintenance line, generating a broader conversation on how we will try to possibly maintain maintenance more of at a central level for facilities. Equipment and replacement lines were also reduced based on historical actuals. And ultimately, the net effect was considerable decreases across the board.
Just to reiterate what Mr. Horton said, we are doing this for every department. We're going line by line. And yes, we have that target rate for them, but if we can get them below that, we're even pushing for them to go below that. And I would like to say the department heads have been great with working with us and trying to stay in the target rate or even going below for more savings that we have because they realize what a tough budget year that this is.
Oh, the net change is over budget. Right? I see that like the net change.
Are you referencing?
Is that over? Oh,
It's
does
on that
that mean it's over budget?
Okay.
Under.
Oh, so yeah. Sorry, Commissioner. Yes, it means it's under budget. So that 31,000, to be more specifically, is we provided them a target. That target was 844,000. After going through their actuals and budgets line by line by line, in that meeting, we were able to identify additional cuts that the target didn't consider or didn't factor in when being developed. So that's what that 31,000 is. And then the 10,000 all the way to the right is basically the FY27 target versus the adopted FY26 budget. So from that perspective, it was a $10,000 savings.
So once again, the parentheses represents under
Ye-
the budget, the budget that was set.
Yeah, in this context, I try to stay away from terminology like this, but we'll say favorable. It was a favorable variance in the context of what we were trying to accomplish.
Mr. Horton,
Sir.
how did you arrive at the original target? You say you saved $31,000. How did you arrive at that target?
So-
What basis did you use for that?
So I went through the various steps. It started off by, in essence, or to oversimplify, pull in their historical information for the past 2.5 years. It was a blend. I'll say it was a blend of art and science, meaning that we can come up with weights and different averages, but there's other considerations you want to factor in when doing that. Again, one-time hits or non-reoccurring type of hits that, if you're not careful identifying, may increase your targets. So it was an educated approach.
So the target was the first pass and you really, it's not looking at revenues at that time. You're saying this is what I think it will be. And then you will go back and look at revenues and see how that nets out. Is that correct? It's not your final cuts. Is that going to be your final number, you think, or will you
Yeah.
take it down further?
Yeah, again, just looking at how they typically had been spending over the past a couple of years, and then shaking out the abnormal actuals and some weights and averages is pretty much how we came to the number. So it's not, I'll be transparent. Nothing of forecasting like this is hard pressed to find the perfect approach, but we thought it was logical and reasonable.
Because you
But-
remember at the retreat, we discussed that we were going to go with the right size budgeting
Oh, yeah.
for FY27.
Mhm.
So we're looking more at the last 3 years and the projections from 26 and the last of historical expenditures that have actually, not what's been budgeted, what's historically been spent, the actuals. So that was what we took into consideration too in coming up with that target rate.
And also when developing the target rate, it was coming from a position of, what is the amount that I think based off of, historical actuals, what is the amount that the departments will need without jeopardizing current level of services? That was by far the foundation of how this was approached, or how this was analyzed.
Mr. Smith, this is only expenses. This has nothing to do with revenues.
Right, but we're going to look at revenues at some point in
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Yes,
I already know that's going to be a deficit, so
yes.
when you establish this target, you didn't take that deficit into mind.
What we've
that
done
time.
so far is strictly
Yep.
expenses.
Okay.
But we based it off the amount of projected revenues that we project to come in. But we're still working on that because I know we're still waiting for some data for the sales tax information to come in before we can finish with the actual where we think we will be with the revenues. But this was a projection of forecasting of what we think we will bring in for FY27.
To see where they could cut with their expenses.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think between county manager, I think you said that, with the department heads, everybody's working together, try to,
They have.
you know,
They've been great to work with on that.
yeah, try
yeah.
to, best way we can.
And when we're meeting,
Uh,
Jeopardizes.
Because when we're meeting with them, you know, we make sure that they understand, we don't want them to come in to where they're going to be coming back needing to do budget amendments. We said, we want you to be upfront with us now. Let us know if you're in this target rate, are you going to be able to provide the services that your department requires? We tell them, if not, to let us know to see what we need to work with. And there's even the option of where if it's a close case, not sure if they will or not, that we can still have money in the contingency. So therefore, we won't be turning right around, coming back to the board again, you know, if they were to go over. So we do plan to budget for a contingency as well. But that makes it where they have to come back to finance and to us and go through to see if we see that they really need that or not. So it won't be within their budget where they can move around. It'll be in a separate budget where, you know, contingency line item where they don't have the control over it.
Yeah, the mantra has been, you know, if you have to go over, you know, discuss it with administration and finance, help us to understand why and what the justification is. And then the conversation starts from there. Okay, moving on, debt services. So debt services, what I plan to show you is the existing debt, the planned new debt, and that's it. I see that there's vehicle stuff. Okay, existing debt. This slide shows, you know, this is debt that's already on the books. And there's 6 categories. The largest, you see, there are some reductions. The largest reduction is detention center debt. FY26 budget was 661,000. I'm sorry, revised budget 661,000. The FY27 estimated estimate, I'm sorry, is 312, and that's a reduction of about 349,000. The principal payment of 342,000 is the single largest driver here. School debt is essentially flat at the previous at 645-ish thousand for both years. The HVAC replacement drops to $100,000 to zero because of the obligation being fully paid off. The library construction continues at $99,523 annually. Existing vehicle leases for sheriff and county, existing vehicle leases for sheriff and county vehicles combined continues at $490,000. Stryker cardiac monitors continue at $52,000. The existing debt subtotal fiscal year 26 was a little over 2 million. FY27 estimate is about 1.6 million. That is a reduction of 449,000 before any new debt is added. The detention center principal is rolling off in FY27. It's the largest single driver combined with HVAC. That is 449. And that's how this capacity is freed up. Plan new debt. This is new debt that was planned in FY26 with a partial year debt service. For FY27, we have fully annualized those payments. So ambulance, the total cost was 351,000. FY27 annualizes the debt service a little over 50,000. The UHF system, that total cost was 500,000. FY27, we have it in FY27 annualized at a little over 72,000. The ambulance remount, the total cost was 271,000. In FY27 is annualized at a little over 69,000. The sheriff vehicle leases for 15 vehicles, that total cost was 630,000. FY26 was a partial year. That was 176,000. And it's annualized in FY '27 at 204,000. County vehicle leases for 2 vehicles at the health department, that total cost is 84,000. FY '26 partial was 34,000. FY '27 is also 34,000. And these start on a annual basis. New debt subtotal, FY '26 was 200 and just shy of 273,000 for the partial year, and FY '27 is annualized at a little over 430,000. So the bottom line on debt, FY '26 total debt was a little over 2.3 million. FY '27 total debt is a little under 2.1 million. So the net change is around 286,000. Even after layering in the new debt, FY '27 total debt services below FY '26. Worth noting, FY '28 reduces another 312,000 as more debt will come off.
And just a reminder on the FY '26, that debt has not been issued yet because, we're still waiting to go before the LGC.
Right, so that would, I guess, answer my question on those 15 vehicles that we didn't get. So that was just,
This is if, because we had some information that we were going to take to the LGC for FY '26. And we still are waiting, because they want to have, I think it was our financial statements from FY '25 before we would be able to bring that back before them. That's why we had to cancel, that meeting before. So this debt has not been issued yet, but if it's issued, this would be the amount combined with FY '27.
do you
If we
think,
were to go, approve what
Do
we
you
wanted
think
to
it's late?
follow through.
do you think as late as we are in this year that that's even going to be, that's going to come to fruition? I doubt it. I doubt it will.
I kind of doubt it.
It would be a challenge.
Yeah.
And the ambulance has actually been paid for,
It
correct?
has. We're just kind of waiting to get the financing, almost like pay ourselves back. And it would, it would go back into our general funds with the fund balance to help it. Is it the fund balance? Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for it to be able to, and it would increase it back.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get,
Look at it. See.
they came before us 2 or 3 times.
So we have to have the 25 audit done before we can proceed any
Yeah.
further.
And the LGC is kind of,
They paused.
they stopped us on everything.
Yes.
I think we would save the debt service from FY '26.
Now, repeat that.
I think we would save the
Oh,
debt
okay.
service from FY '26.
Mr. Horton, did I understand you to say that the debt for the detention center has come off? We no longer owe anything on that? If so, that would free up $661,000 per year in cash flow.
After next year. ain't it?
After
next year.
Yeah.
yes,
This coming-
it will, yes.
So
it
this
will
coming year is
become-
going to generate that much more cash flow.
Yeah,
availability.
that'll be, those will be, funds that are no longer needed to be allocated for that
Right.
purpose.
Still have to make a payment in 27. Not off yet. It's coming off.
In
Yeah,
27.
yeah, this is-
312,000 remaining 27, but after that, it's going to be.
Yeah.
Good.
wanted to discuss really the bigger picture and specifically next steps for us. So the big picture, there are four things to take away from tonight. One, the structural picture from the retreat still holds. Recurring revenues do not cover recurring expenditures. Fund balance capacity is limited, and expenditure discipline remains the primary path forward. Two, the salary budgets have been verified. Every authorized position has been rebuilt from current data. Estimated salary savings are approximately 300,000, with some possible opportunity in that category as departments meetings are completed. Three, preliminary FY '27 shows some meaningful expenditure reductions. The Fund 100 operating target it comes in below the FY '26 adopted budget. Debt services are reducing by 286,000. Vacancy management and department level decisions are still being still remain and are being formulated via the meetings that we're having together. Point four, the recommended budget on May 18 will bring everything together: revenue projections, compensation decisions, and final department adjustments will complete the bigger picture. So next steps. Four things happening between now and May 18th. One, continue departmental budget meetings. Remaining meetings are scheduled throughout April. Two, finalize revenue estimates. As the interim county manager indicated, property taxes, sales taxes, intergovernmental revenue projections will sharpen the structural gap picture. Three, develop the vacancy strategy. These are the options that we'd want to consider in working to try to develop a strategy on how to reflect those potential savings. The recommended budget may use a combination of strategies. Point is, a strategy still being formulated. For building the recommended budget. Once departmental meetings are completed and revenue is finalized, the county manager will compile the recommended FY '27 budget for the board. This is just a reiteration, a recap on the budget calendar, just some key dates. May 15th is the statutory deadline for to receive the budgets from the Caswell County School System. May 18th, county manager will present the recommended budget to the board. 27th, Board of Commissioners budget work session to discuss the recommended budget. June 1st, the public hearing for the FY '27 recommended budget. And then June 3rd and 4th are June 3rd is a board budget work session, and June 4th is an optional work session. June 8th, another work session if needed. And then June 15th, board adopts the FY '27 budget and sets the tax rates.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to highlight a few key takeaways from today's discussion. First, the structural picture has not changed. We are still facing a gap between recurring revenues and expenditures that will require action. Second, staff has now built a reliable and data-driven foundation for this budget. The position reconciliation and salary rebuild give us confidence in the numbers we are working from. Third, while we've identified some reductions, it is important to recognize that not all reductions translate into direct county savings, particularly in areas supported by state and federal funding. And finally, moving forward, the key decision in front of the board will center around vacancy strategy, department priorities, and how we will align expenditures with available revenue. Over the next several weeks, staff will continue meeting with departments, refining revenue estimates, and developing recommended budget that brings all of these pieces together. We will present that recommended budget to the May 18th. That will be the point where the policy decisions come into sharper focus for the board. We appreciate the board's engagement today and will incorporate your feedback as we move forward. This is a process, and today is one step in getting us structurally balanced and sustainable budget. And I know after receiving all of this information and you take it home and start going through it more, you may come up with more questions that you have for us. Feel free to email me those questions and we can kind of compile any questions that are coming in. And then that way I can share the response and the question with the entire board. And I think that would be the best way to do that. So any questions that come in, I would like for, if you would please, if you could send it by email, and then I could send a list of that out to the whole board and everyone can see the same question and the answer to that question at the same time. Do you all have questions for us from what we've presented today?
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Manager. A couple of questions I've got. This 3.3 million required reduction, does that take into account that 300,000 already that y'all found in that salary or not?
No, it does not. That I thought it'd be beneficial to leave that number intact so that we can reference back to it, kind of like an anchor. But your thought process is correct. That 300,000 just from the salary review is a potential piece or component that would lower that 3.3.
Right. So that, I guess, so that 3.3, that'll, when you deduct that 300, you're down to 3. Where did you find the 3 at, the 300,000 as you were going through this? What?
Well, it'll be difficult for me to go, it is salary information. It's difficult for me to go into the specifics, but in essence, we went in and ensured that what was budgeted, that dollar amount was consistent with what the salaries for the various positions, after doing the position reconciliations, that the salaries, the actual budgeted salaries are what was being used to develop the FY26 salary budget. So that's where some of the discrepancies were. I don't believe, or if I had to take a guess or speculate, I don't think that type of exercise was engaged in previous budgets to really fine tune and generate that salary budget.
Okay. So I guess when we had to retreat, you feel confident in this number on the salaries now?
Well, it's a very, in my opinion, it's an excellent start, but we haven't met with all the departments yet. So there could easily, that number is subject to change. There could easily be a situation that, for whatever reason, I'm speculating, I can't think of one, but there's always the chance that there's something that was missed and we don't find it until we review these numbers with the departments.
Okay. And one last question, as you're going through, I guess it's on page, right before page 12 on the vacancies that are, and I know you said this vacancy is kind of a driving factor. Have you looked at how long some of these positions have been vacant for?
I have, and it just varies. Some of them are, it's a wide range. Some of them have been vacant for a while. And that's kind of what the issue was. The vacancy that has been vacant for a while and just perpetuated without, I'd say a position or budgeted salary review. And I apologize. I don't have I don't have that information with me or an average of how long they've been vacant. But I do remember when looking through the data that was provided that, yeah, wow, some of them been open for a while.
And I,
Position reconciliation that you were speaking of, I feel very confident in those numbers because Ms. Sharp went through position by position and cleaned that up completely. So we are definitely are in very good shape where that goes. And as far as like how long some of the positions have been open, you've got to remember, like in some of your departments, like in public health, especially DSS, and also the health department, it may be if it's like a social worker position, they've got to find somebody who has the right, certification and holds, the right certification to be able to be in those positions. It doesn't mean that we don't still need it. It may be somebody else has been having to do the work because, we're having a hard time, but those are going to be the kind of hard decisions that we're going to have to make and that I'll be bringing back in the recommended budget. And I think you're going to see a combination of possibly freezing some positions, maybe putting the vacancy rate built back in with some of your public health. I think you're going to see a combination of those of what we're going to have to come back and recommend, because that is going to be one of our biggest cost savings is going to be with salaries, the ones that are the vacancies.
I just would like to see how long some of them have been vacant. If it's been 4 or 5 years, then I guess it's something we need to look at. If it's been vacant for that long, we probably freeze it. That's just my opinion, but, that's.
And we
No,
can always put in if we do put a freeze on positions for FY '27, we can make it where it's a requirement that they have to come before the board and explain why they have to have this position filled now. If they've already went a year or two and it's not been filled, I understand that there's a need there, but this is the year, if we can extend it one more, this is the year to do that. And if they do not have a compelling case, it's very likely we would recommend to the board that it continue to be, to continue to freeze the position. But, of course, the ultimate authority lies with the board on how they would handle that.
So you feel pretty confident on this salary number that you got here that Ms. Sharp came up with?
With the reconciliation of the positions, yes.
So she had my hopes up because I was hoping it was going to be the number she gave us at the retreat, but I don't think it's going to make it.
Well, there is a large sum there in salaries. Is all going to depend on what way we decide to go with it. If we're going to freeze positions, if we're going to allow there to be the vacancy rate put in for some, there is a huge savings that we can do there, but it's going to be some hard decisions that we've got to finish looking at the data and finish talking to the departments to see the impact that it may have on them if we did not fill those vacant positions. And then that's what we will bring back in our recommended budget to the board of how we see that we can do that and best serve the county.
Because if you freeze the positions, those salaries, that money, goes away. The position's still there eventually
Right.
when you unfreeze. But Ms. Sharp, I'm confident in that $300,000 because Ms. Sharp spent over 2 weeks away from the audit reconciling because she is the only one that could have cleaned up that mess. And she has it, she's confident in the amount of money that we're going to save, that she has those positions correct. And the larger departments have agreed with her findings and confirmed all of the position data that she submitted to them to double check.
Has she got a way of showing us how she came up with it, or how she got?
Oh,
that
I
number?
guarantee you, she has a magnificent
I mean,
spreadsheet somewhere.
I would love to see where that was caught and how it was found.
Yes. And I mean, and when you start asking questions about the audit, she has had to take time away from the audit once again to do this. We're getting back on the audit this week.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions?
Got one question.
Yes.
Mr. Horton, understand that accounts receivable are not included in unassigned fund balance. Can you tell me how much accounts receivable are at this time?
As far as year to date,
At this time, this today?
not without the monthly reporting as of today.
Okay, if we're working on increasing the fund balance, then we could increase that by collecting our money between now and June 30th, right?
In
As much
theory.
as possible.
Sure.
So if it's a lot of money out there we can't collect, then it'd be to our advantage to go ahead and get that in and post it to help our fund balance.
I agree.
Any other questions? Just one comment, Madam Manager. I know that you and Mr. Horton have both said that these vacancies and salaries are going to be a big part of making up the deficit. Just a comment, not a question. But if you've got a department that is working efficiently and providing the services that the county residents need at the staffing level they are now, I see no reason to fund unfilled positions. You know, if a department can work with 10 people, why are we going to budget for 12? You get what I'm saying? You know,
Yes, sir.
you don't fund, I don't see the need to fund a position that's not needed. Okay.
And that's the third part of the strategy, right? You got the vacancy, the vacancy rate allowance.
Mhm.
You have the free, freezing, and then the third, you can eliminate a vacancy.
All right. No other questions. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our budget work session.
So move.
A motion from Commissioner Smith. Second from Commissioner Totten. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We stand adjourned till 6:30.